The night my ex-fiancé proposed to the heiress on live television, I stood behind the main stage curtain and watched him kneel beneath 10 million viewers worth of lights. The studio audience gasped exactly on cue. The cameras glided closer. A violin arrangement swelled through hidden speakers. Above the stage, the giant LED screen displayed the logo I had designed 3 years earlier with trembling hands and an empty stomach. Lumina House, the future of luxury living my company. My concept, my contracts, my sleepless nights. And in the center of that stage stood Cha Min-jun, the man who once promised to marry me when Lumina reached its first billion. He wore a midnight blue suit, his hair styled perfectly, his smile angled toward camera 3 like he had been born knowing where to find the lens. In front of him stood Baek Saran, the heiress of Baek Media Group, the woman he cheated with while calling me too tired to love properly. She wore a silver dress that looked poured onto her body, diamonds at her throat, and an expression of delicate shock that would replay beautifully online. Min-jun took her hand. "Saran," he said, voice trembling for the microphone. "You believed in me when the world doubted me." I almost laughed. The world had not doubted him. The world had not known him. I had known him. I had paid his rent when investors ignored us. I had written his first pitch deck. I had designed the subscription model. I had negotiated with manufacturers until dawn while he practiced founder interviews in hotel mirrors. But tonight, under the lights, he looked like a man built by destiny. He reached into his jacket and took out the ring. The audience screamed. In my last life, I had screamed louder. I had run onto the stage before he could finish. I shouted that Lumina was mine. That Min-jun had stolen my shares through a forged resignation agreement. That Saran's family had buried my lawsuit. That this proposal was not romance, but a takeover announcement dressed in diamonds. The cameras caught everything. My shaking hands. My broken voice. My mascara running under the hot lights. Saran cried first. "Yejin," she whispered into the microphone, tears shining perfectly. "Please don't ruin this moment too." By morning, I was the unstable ex-partner. By the end of the week, every gossip channel called me jealous. By the end of the month, Lumina was fully absorbed into Baek Media's lifestyle empire. And by winter, I was standing outside the studio building in the snow, watching a billboard of Min-jun and Saran smile above my own erased name, wondering how a woman could build a throne and still be dragged from the room as a trespasser. Then came the black ice. The headlights. The impossible quiet after impact. Death. But this time, I only stood behind the curtain and waited. Because Min-jun didn't know. Saran didn't know. Baek Media didn't know. They did not know that I had spent the last 8 months buying their debt through shell funds. They did not know that Baek Media's glossy empire was bleeding cash behind its polished entertainment shows and luxury channels. They did not know the live broadcast studio, the production company, the distribution network, and Lumina's parent holding company had all been pledged to creditors. And they definitely did not know that this morning, the final transfer cleared. The owner of the stage was no longer Baek Media. It was me, Kang Yejin, the woman they thought had come to watch herself lose. Min-jun lowered to one knee. "Baek Saran," he said, holding up the ring. "Will you marry me?" Saran covered her mouth. The audience erupted. Then the stage manager whispered into his headset. His face went pale. A red light blinked above the main camera. "Still live." "Perfect." I stepped out from behind the curtain. The applause faltered. Min-jun turned. And for the first time in 2 lives, the man who had stolen my voice froze before I even opened my mouth. Chapter 1. When I opened my eyes after dying, I was in Min-jun's apartment with a contract on the coffee table and his head resting in my lap. For a few seconds, I thought hell had chosen intimacy as punishment. Rain tapped softly against the window. His apartment smelled like old coffee, expensive cologne, and the fried chicken he ordered whenever he wanted to seem ordinary. The city glowed beyond the glass, blurred by weather and memory. Min-jun shifted against me. "Yejin," he murmured, "you're tense." My hands went cold. That voice. Warm when he needed comfort. Gentle when he wanted something signed. Sharp only after making sure no one else was close enough to hear. I looked down. Cha Min-jun was alive. Younger than the version on the billboard. Less polished. Still beautiful enough to make betrayal feel like a personal failure. My phone lit up beside the contract. February 18th. My breath stopped. February 18th. 6 months before the live TV proposal. 4 months before Beck Media's acquisition announcement. 2 months before Min-jun would ask me to sign a temporary voting adjustment. 3 weeks before he would begin openly meeting Saran. And 5 months before my first life was pushed so far into ruin that death looked quieter than continuing. On the table, the contract title waited like a trap I had once walked into willingly. Lumina House Founder Equity Realignment Agreement in my last life. Min-jun told me it was routine. Investors prefer clean leadership lines, he said, kissing my wrist. You still own the company with me. This just makes me the public-facing founder. I was exhausted then. Lumina was growing too fast. Vendors were threatening delays. Customer complaints were piling up. My mother's hospital bills had eaten through my savings. Min-jun said signing would secure the Beck Media partnership. I signed. That one signature gave him majority voting control. Later, when I tried to challenge him, the document sat there smiling with my name at the bottom. This time, I looked at his face. Yejin, he asked again. I moved his head gently off my lap and stood. His brows drew together. What's wrong? I need to read this again. He laughed softly. You wrote half of it. No, I said. I wrote Lumina. Lawyers wrote this. His expression changed. Not much. Enough. He sat up and reached for my hand. Baby, we've been over this. Beck Media wants one founder to represent the brand. Investors get nervous when couples split authority. Then they can be nervous. A silence fell. The rain sounded louder. Min-jun smiled slowly. The smile he used when he thought I was being difficult in a way he could still seduce out of me. You're tired. I am. You're scared. Also true. His smile warmed. He thought he had found the door. Then I picked up the contract and placed it into my bag. I'll have my lawyer review it. The warmth disappeared. For 1 second, his eyes were flat. Then he laughed. Since when do you have a lawyer? Since I died, Min-jun. Since I learned love without legal review is just a weapon wrapped in skin. I'll find one, I said. He stood. Yejin, don't make this ugly. I looked at him. That sentence had followed me through my first life. Don't make this ugly. As if betrayal became ugly only when exposed. I smiled. Then don't give me ugly things to read. I left with the contract. Behind me, he did not call me back. That was how I knew he had already begun calculating. Chapter 2 Lumina House had started in a storage room. That was what people forgot after the magazine covers. Before the scented showrooms and luxury subscription boxes, before the celebrity home tours, before the smart home partnerships and designer furniture collaborations, Lumina was a spreadsheet on my laptop and a cardboard mock-up on the floor. The idea was simple. Affordable luxury living kits for small apartments. Lighting, scent, storage, bedding, digital styling, and subscription-based seasonal upgrades. Not furniture. Not decoration. Atmosphere. A way for lonely city people to make rented rooms feel like they belong somewhere. I created it after my mother's illness forced us to move from our old apartment into a tiny place above a convenience store. At night, I arranged cheap lamps and folded blankets until the room stopped looking like defeat. Min-jun saw the idea and said, "This could be a brand." I saw the brand and thought we could survive. That was our difference. After leaving his apartment, I went straight to a law office in a building too old to impress anyone. Attorney Han Mira had represented me in my first life after everything was already lost. Back then, she looked at my forged documents and said, "You are telling the truth, but you arrived after the lie bought furniture." This time, I arrived early. She read the equity agreement without speaking. Her office was small, lined with case files, and smelled faintly of peppermint tea. When she finished, she looked up. "Do not sign this." I almost laughed. I guessed. "No, you do not understand." She tapped the contract. "This gives him operational voting control, public representation rights, and authority to approve acquisition offers under emergency financing conditions. Emergency financing. Beck Media.
Sitting.
The stage lights waiting months ahead. I folded my hands. What do I do? Renegotiate. And if he refuses? Document. I can do that. Attorney Hans studied me. You look less surprised than most founders about to be robbed. I've been practicing. She did not smile. Good lawyers do not reward jokes when contracts are bleeding. I retained her that day. Then I began building a second file. Lumina Protection Timeline, Kong Yejin. February 18th. Minjun presented Founder Equity Realignment Agreement. February 18th. Declined immediate signing. February 18th. Attorney Han identified control transfer risks. In my last life, I trusted love to remember what I had built. This time, every memory needed a timestamp. Chapter 3. Minjun changed tactics within 48 hours. First came affection. Flowers delivered to my apartment. White tulips. My favorite. That hurt more than if he had sent roses. Then came voice messages. Yejin, I hate fighting. You know I only want what's best for Lumina. I feel like you don't trust me anymore.
Correct.
Then came silence. 2 full days. In my last life, silence made me panic. I thought distance meant losing him. This time, silence sounded like someone searching for another route into my company. On the 3rd day, Beck Saran appeared at Lumina's office. She arrived with 2 assistants, a pearl gray coat, and the kind of smile rich women use when they want to seem approachable without risking equality. Kong Yejin, she said, holding out a hand. I've heard so much about you. I looked at her hand. In my last life, I shook it warmly. I thought she was an investor's daughter interested in brand collaboration. I thought her compliments were sincere. I thought when she called me Uni over wine 6 weeks later, it meant she wanted a sister. Now I shook her hand and felt nothing but the cold pressure of a future knife. I've heard about you too. Her smile brightened. Good things, I hope. Useful things. Her eyes paused. Only for half a second. Then she laughed. I like you already. No, she didn't. People like Saran did not like women they could not place beneath themselves. Minjun came out of the conference room behind her. Too comfortable. Too familiar. His face changed when he saw us together. Not guilt. Management. Yejin, he said. Saran came to discuss the live showcase proposal. Live showcase. In my last life, that proposal became the broadcast where he proposed to her. This time, I smiled. Wonderful. Let's discuss it. During the meeting, Saran praised Minjun's vision 8 times. She praised my operational execution once. That told me everything. Lumina has emotional depth, she said. But Minjun gives it scale. I leaned back. Interesting. She tilted her head. You disagree?
No.
I'm noting your investment thesis. Minjun's jaw tightened. Saran laughed lightly. I didn't realize we were being formal. We are discussing acquisition exposure on company time. That's usually formal. The assistants looked down at their tablets. Minjun forced a smile. Yejin is very detail-oriented. Yes, I said. That's why the company exists. The room went quiet. For the first time, Saran looked at me with something like interest. Not respect yet. Recognition. She had expected a tired founder girlfriend who could be flattered aside. Instead, she had found the lock. Chapter for the affair became obvious before it became useful. That was the hard part. Knowing did not make watching easy. Minjun began wearing new cufflinks. Saran's favorite color appeared in his pocket squares. He took calls outside. He smiled at messages he did not show me. In my first life, every clue cut me open. This time, they still cut. Just not deeply enough to stop me working. I gathered evidence, quietly. Calendar overlaps. Hotel lobby footage from public security requests. Messages accidentally previewed during meetings. Photos from society accounts where Minjun and Saran stood too close at private events neither had told me about. I did not confront him. Confrontation is useful only when the other person fears losing you more than losing the lie. Minjun feared neither yet. Instead, I protected Lumina. I moved intellectual property registrations into founder-verified accounts. I corrected old shareholder minutes. I required dual approval for acquisition discussions. I separated my personal design archive from company servers. I also began studying Beck Media. That was when I found the first crack. Beck Media looked powerful. Broadcast channels, streaming platforms, lifestyle studios, luxury event spaces, influencer networks. The kind of empire that glowed on screens and bled in ledgers. Their expansion into live commerce had failed twice. Their debt was rolled through short-term paper. Their flagship studio building was pledged against a credit facility. Their subsidiaries borrowed from funds that were already distressed. In my first life, Beck Media swallowed Lumina. In this life, I realized Beck Media had swallowed too much of everything. I went to Attorney Han. Then to a restructuring advisor she trusted. Then to a private investment fund run by my late grandfather's former partner, Director CEO. He had known my family before illness turned us poor. When I showed him the Beck Media debt map, he whistled. This is not a media group. This is a chandelier hanging by dental floss. Can we buy the floss?
He looked at me. Slowly.
Then smiled. You are either very brave or very angry. Both. That combination is expensive. I have Lumina equity. You would risk your company? I thought of the billboard in my first life. My erased name. My mother crying because she could not stop reporters from calling me unstable. No, I said. I'm protecting it. Director CEO leaned back. Then we start with the studio debt. Quietly. And so, while Minjun practiced becoming Beck Media's golden son-in-law, I began buying the floor beneath his proposal. Chapter 5 Minjun officially ended our engagement in April. Not privately. Of course not. Men like him love soft public cruelty. He chose Lumina's rooftop garden after a brand dinner. There were witnesses inside. Not close enough to hear everything. Close enough to see if I cried. The city lights glittered around us. Wind moved through the potted olive trees. He stood with his hands in his pockets, face arranged into regret. Yejin, he said, I think we've changed. In my first life, I asked what I did wrong. This time, I looked at the ring on my finger. A small diamond, bought before investors. Before Saran. Before everything became staged. Yes, I said. He blinked. Clearly he had prepared for resistance. I'll always respect what we built. What I built. His mouth tightened. What we built. Say it enough and maybe you'll believe it. His eyes cooled. There's no need to be cruel. I removed the ring. His gaze dropped to it. I assume there is someone else, I said.
He sighed.
The sigh of a man disappointed that reality had interrupted his script. I didn't plan it. They never do. Saran understands the future I want.
No.
She can afford it. That hit. His face hardened. You always looked down on ambition.
No, Minjun.
I looked down on shortcuts. He stepped closer. Be careful, Yejin. Lumina is entering a delicate phase. If you act emotionally, you could damage everything. There it was. The first warning. The soft threat. If you cry, you hurt the company. If you speak, you hurt the brand. If you object, you prove you were never professional enough to own what you made. In my first life, those words muzzled me. This time, I slipped the ring into my pocket. I agree. Let's keep everything clean. His eyes narrowed. Meaning? Public statement. Mutual separation. No discussion of overlap. No claim that I am unstable, difficult, or stepping away from Lumina. No change to founder equity or voting rights. He stared. You came prepared. Yes. This isn't a negotiation. Then why did you pick a place with witnesses? Silence. Below us, music drifted from the dinner. Minjun looked toward the glass doors. He could still salvage the scene. So he smiled.
Coldly. Fine.
We'll do it clean. Good. As I walked away, he said, You'll regret making me your enemy. I turned. No, I said. You became that before I noticed. Chapter 6 Saran visited me the next morning. She came to Lumina's showroom wearing a cream suit and sympathy so polished it reflected nothing real. The showroom smelled like cedar, linen, and warm lighting. My creations. My atmosphere. My proof that beauty did not have to belong only to people born inside penthouses. Sarand touched one of the lamps. "You have good taste," she said. "I know." Her smile paused, then returned. "I wanted to speak woman to woman. That phrase rarely ends well." She sighed softly. "I know you're hurt." "No, you don't." Her eyes sharpened.
Fine.
"I know you think I took something from you." I looked at her. "You did." "Minjun is not a thing."
No.
"He's a man. That makes his betrayal his responsibility. Yours is pretending you came here with clean hands." Her lips parted. For a moment, the heiress vanished and the rival appeared. Then she lowered her gaze. "I love him." How many crimes had been dragged into daylight wearing those 3 words? I walked to the nearest display shelf and adjusted a ceramic bowl. "Then keep him." She blinked.
What?
"Keep him. Marry him. Put him on your shows. Make him the face of whatever future he sold you." Suspicion entered her face. "You're giving up?"
No. I'm separating assets.
She did not understand. Not yet. That pleased me. She stepped closer. "Yejin, don't fight Beck Media. You'll lose. I'm saying this kindly. I'm sure you think that. We can compensate you. Consultant title. Founder Emeritus. Creative credit." I almost laughed. Founder Emeritus. A gold plaque on a locked door.
No.
Her expression cooled. "You're being proud." "Yes." She seemed startled. People are uncomfortable when insults are accepted without shame. I smiled. Pride is useful when people offer you decorative graves. Saran stared at me, then turned toward the exit. "At the door," she said, "the live showcase is moving forward. Minjun will announce our partnership there." "Wonderful." She looked back. "You'll attend?" "Of course." Her eyes narrowed slightly. "Why?" I smiled. "I own a dress." Chapter 7. The live showcase became the most advertised lifestyle broadcast of the season. Beck Media called it Lumina Live, a new era of home, love, and luxury love. They were not subtle. Teasers showed Minjun walking through candlelit rooms, discussing how Lumina represented the courage to build beauty with someone who believes in you. Not once did they mention me in the first trailer. After attorney Han sent a legal notice, they added my name in tiny font under original co-founder and design contributor, Kong Yejin design contributor. I stared at that phrase for a full minute. Then I forwarded it to my lawyer, my archive, and director CEO. His reply came quickly. "Good. Let them reduce you in writing. Buyers love clear evidence of stupidity." By then, our acquisition work had accelerated. Beck Media's creditors were nervous. A failed drama investment had worsened cash flow. Their live commerce division was underperforming. The studio building debt traded quietly at a discount. We bought through 3 vehicles, then 5, then 1 controlling fund. The final piece was the production company that owned the broadcast rights to Lumina Live. That took longer. Saran's family held it close. But debt has no loyalty to family. It only asks who pays. 3 days before the showcase, Director CEO called. "We have effective control." I sat in Lumina's dark showroom after everyone had gone home. For a moment, I could not speak. All around me, warm lamps glowed over linen couches and glass shelves. My little rented room dream had become an empire large enough for people to steal. Now I had stolen the thieves' stage instead. "Yejin,"
Director CEO said.
"I'm here." The ownership disclosure can remain sealed until the board filing updates. When, morning of the broadcast, I closed my eyes.
Perfect.
Not because I wanted drama.
Well.
Not only because if we revealed too soon, Saran would cancel the proposal, Minjun would retreat, and Beck Media would rewrite the story.
No.
Let them gather the audience. Let them advertise the love. Let them turn betrayal into programming. Then let the owner walk out. Chapter 8. The morning of the broadcast, my mother called me. She had never fully understood Lumina's corporate structure, but she understood Minjun. Mothers know rot before daughters admit the smell. Are you going tonight? She asked. Yes. Will he be there? Yes. And that woman? Yes. A pause. Then, where's something expensive? I laughed for the first time all week. Mom, if people are going to gossip, give them good fabric to describe. I looked at the black dress hanging on my door. Simple. Sharp. Not bridal. Not mourning.
Mine.
I will. Her voice softened. Yejin. Yes. You do not have to prove you are not hurt. My throat tightened. In my first life, everyone demanded proof. Proof I was calm.
Proof I was sane.
Proof I was not jealous. Proof I deserved the company I built. My mother, even then, had only asked if I had eaten. I know.
Good.
Hurt women can still own buildings. I laughed and cried at the same time. That's very specific advice. I raised a founder. I adapted. The broadcast began at 8. By 7, the studio was full. Celebrities, influencers, investors, executives, journalists, and lifestyle editors filled the audience seats. Cameras moved like sleek black insects. Assistants whispered into headsets. Stage lights warmed the air until breathing felt expensive. I entered through the side entrance as an invited co-founder. Not honored. Invited. Barely. A young production assistant checked my name. Kong Yejin. Yes. She gave me a badge that read, Guest, Founder Contributor. I smiled. Contributor? Another word for theft trying to be polite. Thank you, I said. Backstage, Minjun saw me first. He looked magnificent.
That annoyed me.
Some childish part of me wanted betrayal to make him ugly. Instead, it had made him camera-ready. Yejin, he said cautiously. Minjun. His eyes moved over my dress. You look well. I am. He seemed dissatisfied. Saran appeared beside him. Silver dress. Diamonds.
Victory.
She smiled. I'm glad you came. I wouldn't miss it. Her fingers tightened around her cue cards. She was nervous. Not about me. About the proposal.
She knew then.
Or suspected.
That almost softened me.
Almost. Minjun offered his arm to her as the stage manager called them. Ready. Saran smiled up at him. With you? Always. I wondered if she rehearsed that too. They walked into the lights. The audience erupted. I stayed behind the curtain, waiting. Chapter 9. The showcase was beautiful. That was the cruel part. Minjun knew how to perform. Saran knew how to glow. Beck Media knew how to turn stolen labor into golden content. They moved through luminous staged rooms, each set designed from my original mood boards: dawn bedroom, rain night reading corner, city studio kitchen, winter balcony lounge. Every scene carried pieces of me.
None named me.
Minjun spoke about the loneliness of modern living, as if he had ever lived alone without someone paying his bills. Saran spoke about creating warmth for people who come home tired, as if she had ever worried about rent. The audience sighed. The live comments exploded on the monitor backstage. They're so perfect together. Power couple energy. Lumina is a love story. I watched silently.
No.
Lumina was not a love story. It was a survival story.
Mine.
Then came the final segment. The stage lights dimmed. The host smiled knowingly. We have one more surprise tonight. The audience murmured. Saran turned toward Minjun with rehearsed confusion. He took her hand. My headset crackled. A producer whispered, Camera 2 ready. Tight shot on ring. The stage manager beside me wiped tears from her eyes. She has no idea, she whispered. I looked at her.
No.
She had some idea. Just not enough. Minjun began his speech. Lumina taught me that home is not a place. It is the person who believes in your future before anyone else can see it. My jaw tightened. That line was mine. From an early investor deck. He had changed one word. In my first life, hearing it from his mouth made me run. This time, I let him continue. Saran, you saw me not as I was, but as what I could become. True. She saw an acquisition opportunity, with good cheekbones. He knelt. The ring box opened. The diamond caught the light. The audience screamed. The host covered her mouth. Saran's tears arrived beautifully. And then the stage manager's headset buzzed. Her face changed. "What?" she whispered. She pressed one hand to her earpiece. Then looked toward me. Then at her clipboard. Then back to me. I smiled. The ownership disclosure had gone live. The board control notice had hit the internal system. Beck Media's flagship studio and production unit now reported to a new holding company.
Mine.
The producer's voice crackled through the backstage speakers. Who authorized the ownership slide? Who is Kong Holdings? Another voice answered, panicked. Legal says we cannot cut. We are live under new control instruction. On stage, Minjun was still kneeling. Beck Saran, he said. Will you marry me? Saran whispered, yes. The audience exploded. And then the giant LED screen behind them changed. Not to fireworks, not to roses, to a corporate notice. Beck Media Live Production Division. Ownership transition complete below it. Controlling owner, Kong Holdings, and below that, Chief Executive Officer. Kong Yejin. The applause cracked apart. Minjun turned. Saran froze. The host's smile died on live television. That was when I stepped out. Chapter 10. Walking onto that stage felt nothing like I had imagined. In my first life, I had run, tripped almost, shouted, cried, begged. This time, I walked slowly. The lights were hot on my face. The studio was silent except for confused murmurs and the faint mechanical hum of cameras still moving. Camera 3 found me. I knew because its red light turned toward my eyes.
Good.
Let it. Minjun remained on one knee for 1 second too long, then stood abruptly.
Yejin, he said.
My name sounded wrong in his mouth now, like a password he no longer had permission to use. Saran clutched the ring box. Her face had gone white beneath the makeup. The host looked toward the producer booth in panic. No one cut the feed. Because I owned the feed. I stopped at center stage. Congratulations, I said. My microphone was already live. The audience inhaled. Minjun's eyes flashed. What is this? A corporate disclosure. This is not the time. I smiled. You proposed during a product launch built on my company. I assumed timing was flexible. A ripple moved through the audience. Saran stepped forward. Yejin, whatever business issue this is, we can discuss privately. I looked at her. In my first draft of this evening, I would have preferred privacy. She frowned.
She did not understand.
That was fine. I turned toward the audience. For clarity, Lumina House was founded by me, Kong Yejin, with Cha Minjun as operating partner. Recent attempts were made to reduce my role to design contributor while using Beck Media platforms to announce a personal and commercial partnership. Minjun's jaw tightened. Careful. I looked at him.
No.
One word. Quiet. Final. The live comment monitor backstage must have been chaos. I did not look. Earlier today, I continued, Kong Holdings completed acquisition of controlling interests in Beck Media's live production division, including the studio, this broadcast format, and the distribution rights for tonight's program. Saran whispered, That's impossible. Not impossible. Just expensive. A few people gasped. Someone in the audience laughed once, then stopped. I looked at Minjun. You wanted a stage big enough to rewrite our story. I bought it before you finished the sentence. His face turned dark. You're doing this because I left you. No, I said. You left me months ago. I'm doing this because you tried to leave with my company. That landed. Not just on him. On the room. On the cameras. On everyone who had accepted the soft version because it came wrapped in romance. Saran's eyes filled. I didn't know he reduced your role. I almost admired the attempt. Immediate distance. Heiress survival instinct. I turned to her. You knew enough to offer me founder emeritus. Her lips parted. The audience murmured louder. Minjun looked at Saran. For 1 second, blame crossed his face. Already, love was so fast when money moved. Chapter 11. The broadcast did not end cleanly. Of course not. Live humiliation rarely respects segment timing. The host tried to regain control. We seem to have unexpected developments tonight. I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. Minjun stepped toward me and lowered his voice, forgetting the microphone near his lapel. You think this makes you powerful? You bought debt like a vulture. I smiled. A vulture knows what is dead before the crowd admits it. His face flushed. The line went viral within 10 minutes. Saran removed the ring from her finger. Not dramatically. Not fully. Just enough for camera 2 to catch uncertainty.
Minjun saw it.
His eyes widened slightly. There it was. The first crack in the proposal. Not because he betrayed me. Because he might not be useful anymore. I turned to the host. I apologized to the production staff for the disruption. Everyone's contracts will be honored. No employee will be penalized for following prior Beck Media instructions. That mattered. In my first life, I had not thought of staff. Only pain. This time, I knew revenge that crushed workers was just vanity with better lighting. The host blinked, then nodded quickly. Thank you. I looked into camera 3. Lumina House will issue a formal statement tomorrow regarding founder rights, platform ownership, and future operations. Then I turned to Minjun and Saran. Enjoy the rest of your evening. I walked off stage. Behind me, the audience did not applaud. Not at first. They whispered. Then one person clapped. Then another. Not thunder. Not worship. Uncertainty becoming recognition. By the time I reached the curtain, the sound had grown. I did not look back. Not because I was above it. Because if I looked at Minjun's face too long, I might remember the man I had once loved instead of the one standing in the wreckage of his own stage. Chapter 12. The internet burned for 3 days. Clips spread everywhere. Minjun on one knee, the screen changing. My entrance. My line about buying the stage. The hashtag trended first as a joke. Hashtag she bought the stage, then as an investigation. People found old Lumina interviews where Minjun said, my vision, while I stood behind him demonstrating the product. They found early design registrations under my name. They found Beck Media's awkward updated credit line. They found Saran's founder emeritus comment from an old leaked email. By the second day, the story had changed. Not fully. Public opinion never becomes pure. But enough. I was no longer the jealous ex. I was the founder who bought back the room. Minjun called 17 times. I did not answer. Saran sent one message. Saran, I did not understand the full situation. We should speak. I replied, me. Speak to counsel. Attorney Han called that emotionally healthy and legally correct. Director CO called it beautifully boring. My mother called it good. But did you eat? On the 4th day, Minjun came to Lumina's office. Security called upstairs. He says he's still operating partner. I looked at Attorney Han. She smiled. Not after yesterday's board vote. I let him into the conference room anyway. Some endings deserve eye contact. He entered looking wrecked but still handsome in a dangerous way. Men like Minjun never lose beauty first. They lose certainty. Yejin, he said. Mr. Ja. His jaw tightened. You destroyed me on live television.
No.
I corrected you on property I owned. He laughed bitterly. You planned this for months. Yes. At any point, did you still love me? The question struck harder than I wanted. Because the answer was not no. In another part of me, in the old storage room where Lumina began, there was still a girl eating convenience store kimbap beside him at 2 a.m., laughing because the prototype lamp caught fire. She loved him. She deserved better. Yes, I said. His face changed. Hope, maybe. Regret, maybe. I did not let either live long. But I loved the version of you who existed before opportunity revealed your price. He closed his eyes. Saran is leaving. I was not surprised. Is she? Her family says I misrepresented Lumina's ownership stability. You did. His eyes opened. Anger returned. You made me look like a fraud. No, I said. I made it hard for you to keep looking like a founder. He stepped closer. I built Lumina too. You helped build it. Then you tried to bury me under it. His mouth opened.
Closed.
For once, he had no elegant answer. The silence felt like fresh air. Finally, he whispered, "What happens to me?" There it was. Not apology, not accountability. Fear for himself. I looked at him calmly. Your employment agreement is terminated for cause pending review. Your equity remains subject to clawback provisions triggered by fiduciary breach. Further communication goes through legal counsel. He stared. You sound like a stranger. No, I said. I sound like the woman you should have read more carefully. Chapter 13 Saran came 1 week later. Not to Lumina. To the studio. My studio now. She arrived without assistance, wearing a black coat and sunglasses she removed only after the receptionist escorted her into the green room. This room had once held celebrities. Now, it held silence. Saran looked tired. Still beautiful, but not glowing. I returned the ring, she said. I sat across from her. Congratulations. Her mouth tightened. I suppose I deserve that. You deserve more specific things, but I'm trying to be efficient. A faint laugh escaped her. Unexpected. Then she looked down at her hands. I knew Minjun had been engaged to you. I knew the timeline was messy. I knew Beck Media wanted Lumina because our live commerce division was failing. She swallowed. I told myself business was business. And me? Her eyes lifted. I told myself you were already compensated. The honesty surprised me, not because it was kind, because it was ugly. People usually hide the ugliest truths behind softer curtains. You offered me a ceremonial title. I know. You tried to purchase my silence with a plaque. I know. And when I walked on stage, you pretended you didn't understand. Her face flushed. Yes.
There.
A complete answer. No tears yet.
Good.
Saran looked toward the dark stage beyond the green room door. My father is furious. The board is worse. They say I let emotion interfere with acquisition strategy. Did you? She smiled faintly. I thought I was using romance for business. Turns out I was being used for both. I almost pitied her. Almost. But pity is not trust. Why are you here? She looked at me. To apologize. I waited. For minimizing you. For assuming Minjun's version was enough, because it was convenient. For knowing you were in pain, and deciding pain was not material to the transaction. That one landed. Pain was not material. A perfect rich girl confession. Cold. Accurate. Devastating. Thank you, I said. Her eyes softened with hope. I did not feed it. I accept that you understand more now. I don't forgive you yet. She nodded slowly. I didn't expect you to. Maybe she had learned something. Maybe humiliation had made her temporarily honest. Either way, she stood. At the door, she turned back. For what it's worth, the stage looked better with you on it. The compliment was strange.
Late.
Almost sincere. I smiled faintly. I know. For the first time, Saran smiled too. Then she left. Chapter 14 Rebuilding Lumina took longer than destroying the lie. That is the part revenge stories forget. Exposure is dramatic. Repair is paperwork. We renegotiated platform contracts. Rebranded the live division. Removed Beck Media's forced credits. Restructured Minjun's role out of operations. Settled 3 investor disputes. Protected staff positions. Paid vendors early because I remembered what unpaid invoices felt like in the body. 6 months after the live proposal, Lumina relaunched the broadcast platform under a new name. Lumina Rooms Live No Proposal.
No celebrity romance.
No stolen speeches about love. Just designers, small apartment owners, renters, newlyweds, students, single mothers, and people who wanted their rooms to feel less temporary. I hosted the first episode myself. My mother sat in the front row. She wore a navy dress and kept crying at inappropriate times. Before the cameras rolled, she waved a tissue at me. Expensive fabric, she mouthed. I laughed so hard the makeup artist had to fix my eyeliner. When the red light came on, I looked into the camera. For 1 second, I remembered my first life. The snow outside the studio. The billboard. My erased name. The headlights. Then I breathed. Welcome to Lumina Rooms, I said. My name is Kang Yejin. I founded Lumina because I believe a home is not proven by ownership. It is created through care. My voice trembled once. Only once. I let it. This company was almost taken from me. But it began in a small rented room, and small rooms teach you something powerful. You learn what is yours because you have so little space to lose it. The studio was quiet.
Warm. Alive.
We are here to make space beautiful without pretending beauty belongs only to people who can buy entire buildings. My mother clapped too early. Everyone laughed. I did too. The producer counted in my earpiece, but I ignored him for 1 second. For once, imperfection belonged to me. Chapter 15. A year after the proposal, I walked through the old Beck Media studio alone. The stage was dark.
No roses.
No violin track. No gasping audience. Just cables, dust, folded chairs, and the faint smell of paint from the new set being built. I stood at center stage where Minjun had knelt. It looked smaller without lights. Most humiliations do. My phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. This is Minjun. I know I don't deserve a reply. I saw the relaunch. It was good. You were always better at making people feel something real. I'm sorry I tried to take that and call it mine. I read it once, then deleted it. Not because I hated him, because apology is not a key. Some doors remain closed even after someone finally learns how to knock. Another message came from my mother.
Come home. Soup is ready.
Owner of stage still needs dinner. I smiled, then looked up at the empty lights. In my first life, I thought ownership meant holding shares. Then I thought it meant controlling debt. Then buying the stage. But standing there, in the quiet after all the noise, I understood something better. Ownership was not only legal, it was spiritual. It was being able to stand in the room where you were humiliated and feel your own feet on the floor. It was hearing your name without flinching. It was building again without asking thieves whether you were allowed. It was knowing love could betray you, cameras could distort you, powerful families could erase you, and still, somewhere beneath all of it, the truth could wait with your fingerprints intact. My name was Kang Yejin, founder of Lumina House, CEO of Kong Holdings, owner of the studio where my ex-fiancé proposed to another woman, and finally, the woman who no longer needed to interrupt the broadcast to be heard. I had bought the stage. But more than that, I had taken back the story. The lights above me warmed slowly as the crew tested the next set. This time, they turned on for me.